it's an only child. Consume my reputation, something more than what I know it serves me right, but I can't sleep.
All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another fine 55 minutes of Talk. And I have some very special guests with me today from the New London Library. I have Suzanne, who's, what are you again?
Executive Director.
Oh, yeah, I knew that. Executive Director, and I'm going to let you pronounce your name
My
because...
first and last name, Madhu Gupta.
Okay, and
I'm
you're the newest
head of-
member of the family.
Thank you, and I'm the head of information services at the Public Library of New London.
All righty. So, folks, tonight it's going to be all about the library, about different things that go on at the library. And I can't see a thing with these things on. And let me tell you, I went to the webpage for the library, and you wouldn't believe the amount of stuff that goes on in this little building. Well, it looks little, but it isn't little. And I hope to be able to cover a lot of it. I don't think we're going to get to all of it tonight. So I'm going to, hopefully these ladies will come back next month, and we will continue where we leave off. So how long have you been at the library, Susan?
6 years, how can it be possible?
6 years.
Yes, there's still so much to do.
Did you do this before?
Yes, Yes, I came from Farmington, and before that I was at Madison. And before that I was in Canada for 20 years. So.
Wow.
Yeah, but I grew up in Waterford. But.
And well, I know you're new here, but were you doing this elsewhere? Or?
I started my career with banking. And thereafter, yes, and librarianship is my second career. I used to be at Groton Public Library as the librarian, and I also worked at the Connecticut College Library before I came to Public Library of New London.
Okay, now the big question. What draws you to be a librarian?
I knew this question was coming.
Oh, I did it.
I knew
You
this
can
question.
start
I mean,
then.
when I was a kid in school and we'd have our study halls in the library, I'd sit there and go, oh man, when is this ever going to be over? It's just so boring. And I was thinking about it at home, and I was saying to myself, what makes somebody want to get in that kind of line of work? Who wants to go first?
I can go first.
All right.
Libraries have evolved over the years. A librarian is not considered as somebody who stamps books anymore. So this profession is more of helping the community, not just stamping books, giving them information, teaching them resources. Like we have Wi-Fi now, we have ebooks now, we have programming now, we help people learn skills. So we have a lot that goes on in the library. It's not a static place of books anymore. So this is what pulled me towards librarianship. I did have the banking experience, but when I went to Groton Public Library to study just for my banking classes, I happened to speak to one of the librarians over there, and it opened a box of hope and new avenues. So I started talking to her, and she said, why don't you start your MLS? Because you asked me 5 questions and they were very pertinent. And that was the turning point in my life, and I enrolled myself in a degree program.
Well, you've done it for 6 years here, but...
Many, many more years than that. My experience was different than Madhu's. Ever since I was a little child, I wanted to do a certain thing, which was be a nurse. And I got to Boston College Nursing School and realized I didn't want to be a nurse. And they were so kind there. They let me take some tests to see where my interest came out, and it came out to be a librarian. And of course, when you're 19, you don't want to hear that. And I just thought, oh no, that's no. But it just happened to be true. My first job out of college, I actually worked in the Groton Library, not with a library degree, just as a regular college graduate. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful career for me, especially because I'm particularly interested in public policy. And public libraries are a place where we take usually tax dollars and use them for the, quote, public good. And I just love that we can make our city better, our state better, our country better by having excellent library services. So it really ties in a lot of who I am and what I think is important.
You know, I get nervous because I didn't like libraries when I was a kid. I hated reading. And then it was one certain book that I picked up because I was bored. And the stuff that happened in that book, and there was one scene where it made me jump out of my chair. That's when I got hooked on reading, because it came alive. And I think until a kid that doesn't like a library, once he reads a book that comes alive, more than likely they're going to be hooked. But I get nervous when I think about the world we have today with the computers and the cell phones and all this electronic stuff. What's going to happen with the library? I mean, It's, you know, I'm afraid they're going to disappear like so many other things. But we don't have to
Yeah.
worry about that, right?
No, if anything, libraries are more important because maybe 5 years ago people were saying, oh, we've got Google, we don't need libraries. But libraries are about so much more than that. And like, especially in our community, at this point, a library is like the community center. It's a place where
Yes,
you can
that's
go
true.
to meet together with other people. Our meeting rooms, today I tried to get a date for the Friends of the Library to have an event in May. There are almost so many
They're all
dates are
booked.
booked up in May already. So we're providing a very important service where people can come together and create new information. And as Madhu alluded to, it's no longer about loaning materials, which we've done forever, or being a
Yeah.
warehouse of materials. It's about people learning things. So
Yeah, I know. I was on your
it's about-
Facebook page, and it's amazing the different things that you have coming up in there, and it is learning. I mean, it's like a daycare for the minds or something.
I'm gonna make that. I want
a
to
good
know
one.
what that book you read that opened you up. Is something you
Oh,
can
it was
share?
actually, I was living out in Waterford, right in front of the speedboat, and the person I was staying with, we took a walk out to the woods, we were hiking and stuff, and we came upon an old dump. And as we were looking through the dump, scavenging, I found a box full of books. And it was a big condensed Reader's Digest with a bunch of stories in it. And it had this one story, I can't remember the title of it, but it was about in the World War I era, where they were putting trains through Africa. And it was a story about the guy that was doing it, and you know, the natives and the animals there. And there was a scene where he was walking by a bush, and this lion come jumping out of nowhere at him. And when I read that part, I was sitting there and I went, whoa! and that was it. That's all it took.
great.
So from there on, I go through these spurts. Like right now, I'm in a reading spurt, and I'm just reading like crazy. And then I'll stop for a little bit, which probably does that for a lot of people. Now, for all you folks out there, this is the, how do you call it? The donation, not donation,
It's our annual giving drive. Yep.
the annual give and drive. The library, like a lot of places in this city, they always could use some money. They get so much money from the state, I believe, so much money from the city. But as a lot of places, it's not always enough. So they need us. And since they give so much to us in so many ways, it's only right that we should give it back. Now, your goal is, what's your goal, 20?
20,000.
And you're at, I'm sorry about this, folks, but,
11,023. Yeah.
so, and this ends when?
June 30th, 2016.
Okay, Mary Jane, could you put up their webpage? I'm probably saying that wrong, but.
That's right.
And if you go to this, folks, you'll see a spot, I think, where we'll tell you how to donate.
Absolutely, a button to
Okay.
click. Yep.
So they really don't have that far to go. I know some of you rich folks out there could take care of this in like a half hour. So, you know, I mean, you're just going to spend it on frivolous things like Mercedes and Jaguars. So, you know, let's help out here. We can go higher. Doesn't mean we have to stop there. No, we can go up here somewhere. So, all righty.
Thank you.
City council meeting, when they have their budget. Last year, you guys did pretty well. I mean, you got a little more than what you expected, right? I mean, you didn't get as much as you wanted, but
No.
in this city, if you get more than what you already got, that's a definite plus.
Right.
So that sets you up good to where you could hire this young lady here. And how many people did you hire? You hired 2, right?
Well, Madhu was already working there part-time,
Oh, okay.
but we also hired a children's librarian. So we've really been able to increase our services manyfold. Unfortunately, she was supposed to be here tonight and she was not able to. So I
Yeah,
hope she can come back and tell you
Yeah.
what great outreach programs we put in place, because now we can do things like that. So yes, that's essentially what we did, because our budget was just about flat since I'd been there. You know, teeny little increments that just go to
Yeah.
pay the electricity bill. And this year, pretty much our whole increase went to that, but we were offering so many more programs that we're thrilled.
How did you fare with the state?
In Connecticut, public libraries are not really supported by the state.
Oh, they're not.
Unlike education, that if you're in a distressed municipality, you get extra
Yeah.
money back. No, we get about $1,000 from the state each year. Each public library does, so it's not really a funding source, unfortunately, because that would help libraries a lot, and it would help take care of some of the problems that arise when you fund something all with property taxes, because you have big differences in, as we know, half of New London is not taxable. Puts a big strain to have a good library in our city, but we certainly work very hard. And we appreciate the money the city gave us last year. It was
Yeah,
excellent.
well, that was a good move. I think a lot of people were okay with that. I heard a little bit of grumbling, but you can't make everybody happy.
But look at that building, that beautiful Richardson building. You know, the library keeps it in perfect condition. We never ask the city for any money for capital improvements. Everything's done by fundraising on our side. We have a new roof on one part of the building. We really take good care of it. So I think that's important to know. For operating, we need money from the city, but the other part we do.
Now, there's an addition to the old building. How long has that been part of the library?
About 1973. And I used to think I wasn't such a fan of it, but I think it's well integrated now with the traditional architecture. If you look at the windows, there's some repeating of some of the themes and the color of the stone. It's really quite lovely.
You know, every time I go in the library, I go up the stairs, or I'll go down to a meeting room, because I'm on the ethics committee, so sometimes we hold our meetings down here with David.
Oh, yeah.
And but whenever I come up, I take a right. I can't remember the last time I took a left and went into the actual old building.
Oh.
I mean, that must be really, the rooms in there must be amazing. The architect, if it's anything like what the outside of the building looks like, the architect work.
Well, it's my office, the third floor.
That is mind-blowing. I love those staircases, and especially the children's side, when you look at the fireplace and the big room, it's beautiful.
There's a
It's
fireplace in
There's a fireplace.
Not working.
functional, but yeah,
Yeah.
there is a fireplace in there. But
It's
it's
lovely.
absolutely beautiful.
If anyone is watching today and they would like to come and have a tour of the third floor, it's offices only, because there's only one exit, so you couldn't really have the public up there.
Yeah.
There's a fire, exit, but it's quite lovely. It was the old building. There's a curved wooden staircase. There's stained glass windows.
Wow.
It's like a little hidden treasure.
I'd like,
Is it-
I'd like to
Please
see that
come, yeah.
myself.
Is it not on your Facebook too? I've seen
It's
it.
my Facebook picture. Instead of me, I have a picture
Yeah.
of the staircase. Yeah.
And by the way, we in our community room we have pictures of our architecture that stands out. We have pictures of all over there.
Right.
The small pictures that we have.
Taken by Rick
Yeah.
Gipstein, who's such an excellent photographer. Right in the community room next time you're in there downstairs.
Oh, I'll have to
yeah.
check it out. I mean, there's so much that goes on in this library. It amazes. I don't even know how you have time to do some of the things you do. I mean, I've gone in there at times when there's, you're showing movies. I believe there's a book club. You have book clubs.
We have the traditional library activities, which are book clubs. We have 3 of our own book clubs: supper book club, mystery book club, an afternoon book club, shelf awareness. But our circulation staff gets 75 books a month for people using book clubs. It's incredible.
What do you mean by get?
Well, I mean, they get them from other libraries, because we wouldn't
Oh.
have 10 copies of something that you want to read, so we borrow them from other libraries.
Oh, yeah,
So
because then you
75.
can drop them off sometimes, right? I mean, if I have a book from the Waterford Library and it's easy for me to drop it at New London, I'm able to do that, right?
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a little. Now that's funding that comes from the state. It's helped to transport those books around, because a library card. Why don't you tell them I do?
If you have a card from any library, technically where you live, you get your library card from that city, but you can use that library card anywhere in any
Yeah.
library in Connecticut. You can borrow and you can return at any library, except for, say, movies. Some libraries do request that when you check out movies, you return the movies to them, just to prevent breakage.
Is that the same as far as CDs go? Music CDs?
Every library has a different policy
Okay.
depending on what works for them. Sometimes they don't want the disc to break and then you be charged for the disc. So sometimes they request that they get their own CDs back. Some libraries do not care.
It's quite an excellent service. Not every state has that. People move here and they're amazed. So it's one way that can help a library that has a very limited materials budget, like ours does. We do a lot of programs, but we can't buy a lot of materials, but we can usually borrow them. Of course, you're not going to get what's on the bestseller list right away, because first
No, I
choice,
know, I've had to wait.
you have to wait. And first
Okay,
choice goes to
that's
the people
okay.
in the town, but then, a few months later, yeah. But most books you get within a few weeks, or faster. I don't want to commit us to being faster.
See, that's the next time someone says to me about the tax, well, our tax dollars, we don't get nothing for our tax dollars. Well, at least we're getting one thing. Small, but it's something.
It's important. Access to information it's everything.
And you have, I was noticing when I was looking at some info here that you have a lot of classes that are like during the day, in the morning, the afternoon. And I'm thinking to myself, well, geez, a lot of people are either working or in my case, sleeping, because I work nights. But do you find that you still get a decent crowd as compared to maybe something you're putting on in the early evening?
Well,
We actually do not, when we plan events, we plan them according to, say, some in the morning, some in the afternoon, some in the evening. Like, for example, we just had a banking program, budgeting program, so we kept it at 5:30 in the evening so that people who work can possibly be there. But say this is successful in the evening, in a month or so, we kind of do it in the afternoon and try it out. Some programs do well in the mornings, or in the afternoon, say nonprofit programs do well in the morning.
such as the one this morning.
This morning we
Yeah,
had
what did you have this
31
morning?
people, art and science of retaining digital donors. So
There
this
was no parking. It started at
Yeah,
9
that
o'clock.
is kind of, I'm not
When
even,
the
go
staff
ahead.
came in, I had to park on the street. When I went back, it was more than 2 hours. I said, uh-oh, I'm going to be one of those people that gets a parking ticket. Yeah, it was 31 people
31
at 9
people.
o'clock in the morning.
Do you have
on
any
that.
kind of parking thing? I know that's one of the things I kind of makes me crazy sometimes, is especially if there's an event going on at the Guard. You know, I know you try to tell people, do not park here, please, and you're gonna still get people that are gonna park there. But how do you handle it with such a small parking area?
Well, we have 25 spots, one handicapped and 25 spots, which generally, if people respect the rules, is all right. When there's a big program like this morning, we even have some more than that. People, it's a city, people can park on the street too. This is a good opportunity to say we are going to start towing, because there have been more and more people disrespecting the rules, and there's big signs up of what company will take the car and how much it's going to cost, so where you can find it, the address of the company that will be towing. So
Good.
we just have to, because people need access to the library. It's a way people can get a leg up in New London, and if someone parks their car there and goes to one of the local establishments that are around us, it's not really right for people
No.
that need the library.
And it's,
So-
as much as I like the Guard Theater, it's not right that people that go to events there need to be taking the library, so, unless it's after hours.
After hours,
Then that's,
yeah.
then that's not a big thing.
But you know, after hours, we are open Sundays now, from 1 to 4.
Yeah, I saw that, I
In
saw
the
that in the
winter,
thing.
and that's a
Did-
very
Didn't you
good-
always open?
Well, we used to be, but with, when the budget collapsed, we're all grant funded for the 3 months that were opened by the James P. and Mary E. Shea Perpetual Trust. It's completely funded by them, the 3 months of Sundays, and Sundays are extremely popular.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
and we
programs.
do present some very good programs on Sunday. We have the Secret Wedding of Amelia Earhart in Connecticut that's coming up on February 7th, and at 2 o'clock. So we have a lot of programs coming up on Sundays. We
Where
have,
do all these ideas come from for all these different things that you folks put on?
we decide our programming not just looking at one particular group. We look at everybody in the community. We look at, say we are doing programming, we do this for interest group of every single person. Say I wanted to learn how to draw, but this never happened. So now we have drawing for beginners class. So say you never got to do it, now there's a chance. It's a 6-week series taught by Cindy Samuel, and you will learn, each class is built on that first class, so you will get to enroll in the 6 classes, and then you learn how to draw. So basically, and say I am a Downton Abbey fan, so we're doing a tea and discussion on Downton Abbey in the afternoon, so we get a good crowd for that. We've done it in the past, it was very successful. So this year, since it's the last final season, so we did it again, and it's very successful.
Now, if there's anything in particular you want to bring to the attention of the audience, just jump in at any time, because I can ramble on forever. So,
Well, I just would like to make one more pitch for donating to our annual fund, but we also have grants. At this point, we're a small organization, and we have a very small staff, but we do have $127,500 worth of grants open at this point that we're administering. So we do make every effort we can to write grants. It would be good to write even more, but I'm quite proud of that number.
is that your job, writing
Yes,
grants?
my job. One part of my job, when I'm not
Yeah, I
overseeing
can't
snow
even-
removal and other things.
I can't even imagine trying to do that. That's got to be frustrating sometimes.
I love it. I love my job. I've never had a day I didn't want to go to work.
Well, you
I'm
think
so
in your
lucky.
spare time you could get some grants for the city?
I think they're going to take care of that themselves.
Maybe.
But we do have some services, some new services. Well, the fact that we're open again on Sundays, and Madhu has one she can talk about.
For Sundays, we have Sunday programming on. Do you want me to go?
No, the fines, about the fines?
Oh, the fines. Now you can pay your fines online. Say you are at home and you do not know what your fines are. You can log on and you can see what your fines are and you can pay them online. It is one good thing because say you're going to put something on hold and you cannot because of your fines. So now you can pay from home and put items on hold for yourself. So that's really one.
I went into the Waterford Library one time. Don't beat me up. But and I went to pay my fine, and the woman says, "Well, you know, if you don't have it all right now, you can pay some of it now and pay some of it later." And I'm thinking to myself, "Wow, that's pretty nice." Is that pretty standard with libraries?
Yes, it is.
Oh, yes, we always try to work something out with people. As long as you have good faith, and you can pay $1 a week towards a big fine, that's fine. As long
How
as
big of a fine can it be on a book?
about $5, I think.
It depends on, say it's a lost book, then you pay for
Oh,
the
well,
book.
yeah,
Yeah.
Then
naturally.
it's a,
or
then
damaged.
it's a damage. Then you pay for the book.
Yeah.
Say it's overdue, it's 10 cents a day, but there's a max to it. Say no more than $5.
But DVDs
The
are
DVDs
$1 a
are-
day.
yeah.
Oh,
Because
they
people
are?
need incentives to bring them
Oh,
back.
yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have a large enough DVD collection, so we do have to make the loan periods fairly short, just so that the turnover there's a lot of turnover. I wish we had another $5,000 to spend on DVDs, because in the people that use our library, they can't all download DVDs the way some people can. You know, they need the
No,
physical DVD.
that's true. I
to put
mean,
in
you
the
know,
TV.
sometimes you'll hear people, they talk about going to this page, going online for this, online for that, and you know, if you want to find out that information, go online. And I try to tell people, you know, not everybody has a computer, believe it or not. A lot of
Right.
people out there don't know how to use a computer, and you have a lot of seniors that don't know how to use computers.
And access
But you guys
to,
teach how to use a computer,
That's
don't you?
correct. Access to fast broadband is directly related to levels of income, and I think it's about maybe, I just looked at the number today, I was going to write it down, but a large percentage of people in lower level incomes don't have good fast service at home, and you certainly need that to download. But our digital literacy classes are excellent.
Last year we started with how to use a computer, like the basic computer class, and how to set up your email. This year I've started with new programs, and you can look at this brochure. It's the January, February, March brochure for computer classes. We went one step up. We started with basic Excel. So we had a very
I got that.
Yeah,
I got that
and we
all.
had a very successful session. Our next would be Microsoft Publisher Basic. That to Basic. We're going to start with basics. In March, we're going to talk about smartphones, iPhones, iPads, and Android phones. But after this, I'm going to start on Microsoft Excel Advanced. So we're going to build on our classes. Every month, we're going to have one.
Now, I can imagine you seeing some old guy walking in, and he sits down, and you ask him, well, what do you know about computers? Nothing. So you got to teach somebody from scratch. That's got to be quite interesting.
I have done it, but I start at a very basic level. So the first thing I tell them to do is learn how to use the mouse. So
Yeah.
once you have control over the mouse, then you know where to click. So that's how I started. So very basic for somebody who has absolutely no training. But for the classes like Microsoft Excel, you need to have computer knowledge. So it depends on what class you're taking. There are prerequisites to it.
So there's different
Sometimes,
levels.
yeah, but when you're doing a basic computer class, no, you can just walk in, tell me, we'll give you a computer, and I'll sit down with you and I'll go over it. But in my previous classes, as I said, the first thing I do is learn how to use a mouse. So I give them time to use the mouse, and then I teach them, okay, now click here, double click here. So that's how we get it.
If, go ahead.
There are people who don't even know how to get an email address.
Oh, we got a call.
Oh,
Good evening, you're on Talk Talk.
Hi, good evening, Dennis. It's Brian Collin. How are
Hey,
you?
Brian, how are you?
I'm good. Good evening, ladies. This is a really interesting show. My personal experience at the New London Library, I was trying to look up something that happened back in the 70s. So I was researching the New London Day at the time, and the lady brought me a spool of, it looked like a camera roll and microfiche. And I sat there for hours going page by page, but it's just the resources that are there, and that's where the money should be focused.
I agree.
because so many people excel from their experiences there. And I had a question. I don't know if there's a policy, but if people had CDs that they wanted to donate to the library to add to your collection, is that something that you guys would be open to? Would there be a contact person? Because I'm sure there's people that have, videos that kids have grown up and, they're just sitting down that, you could give to lend out in the community and maybe save you some money there and develop a resource where the community could get involved in a small way. I'll hang up and listen to your response. Thank you.
All right, thanks,
Great
Brian.
show, Dennis.
We would love to have donations of DVDs. We accept them with open arms because they are expensive to buy. And unfortunately, unlike the older formatted videos, they do wear out and get too scratched. We do have a piece of equipment that can help us polish them back up again. We certainly accept DVDs. However, we don't accept videos anymore because people are not borrowing them. And we have a relatively small place to keep things, so we can't take those. But anything.
Is it the same with CDs?
Oh no, CDs we still take. Oh, absolutely. There's still
And
people.
books?
Well, of course, the books. Yes. The friends will have their big book sale in May. Maybe next time we come, we can tell you the date. It's always
Okay.
exciting. Yeah.
So really, all somebody has to do is just go to their nearest library and just bring their stuff in and see what.
No, not all libraries will take.
Really?
No, we have local libraries that do not accept donations, but we have a good place to store them, and we need them for our collection first of all, and then if not, they get sold in the book sale, and we take that money in.
Okay, folks, if you live someplace where they're not going to take them, come on down to New London. We'll take them.
I think we should talk about the access to the New London Day from 1881 that the man referred to.
It's very interesting that we have all the newspapers of New London Day starting July of 1881. They are on microfilms, and if you come in, if you have no experience with it, I will show you how to run that. And all the staff members know how to run that. You can print, you can save it, you can send it to your email, and say you have the date in mind, which is easier. If you don't, and say somebody died so-and-so date, you can go 3 days ahead and find it out. But it's not indexed, so the good idea is to come with a date in mind.
Yeah.
But it's in microfilm, and we have all the films, whichever date you want, we can put it in, you can slide it in, and then you can view it as it's not a paper newspaper, it's like an image. So you're looking at an image, but it's printable. You can put it on your flash drive, you can send it to your email, you can save it.
How many computers do you have in the library for the public to use?
Can I just say one more thing
Yeah,
about
go
that?
ahead.
Because I want
Anytime.
to thank the Community Foundation from I Love Our Libraries grant that they gave us the money to buy that machine. Because imagine you can email it to yourself at home to look at it at leisure, or send it to the rest of the family that would like to have it.
So this is
It's a
something
top
kind of
of the
new.
line- It's fairly new, and it's a top of the line machine. It's not indexable, but that's something because that's hard to get the thing that recognizes.
No, because
type
we do
face.
get calls saying something happened in such and such year. Then it's hard to find it.
It's hard to
But say
find
if they tell us, okay, this month, then we can look for it. Yeah.
We get calls from all over the country to use the New London Day. Even the New London Day sends people to us. They no longer have access to all their back issues. But we do charge people outside the state. I don't want people to think we're wasting tax dollars. So we try to collect. We do charge $25 for a search from anyone outside the state, and then we'll mail it
It's
off to
only
them.
fair if they're looking for something bad enough,
Yeah, I mean,
And
people.
25
We
bucks
do
ain't
get a lot
much.
of requests.
We do.
We do
because
get a lot of requests.
genealogy is such a big thing, and people, if they want to take their summer vacation and come to Connecticut, we'll do it for free. Otherwise, we want the money.
Well, when the museum goes in downtown, then after they stop at the museum, they can run up to the library.
Right.
And
Oh,
do
when
that.
those cruise ships came in, the year when we had that, the library, the computers were full because they charged so much on the cruise ships to use the internet.
Oh, wow.
They'd come trooping up this hill. Yeah.
Yeah, and I imagine when they come walking by and they see the building, it's
Yes,
got
absolutely
I mean,
Yes.
that is, between that and a train station,
Yeah.
I mean, there's such beautiful buildings. And there's really a lot of nice architectural work in the city in London,
There is.
downtown.
Right.
I mean, I can walk down there and all you got to do is look up and you see some mason work and stuff that is just phenomenal.
It
They
is.
don't do that no more. Steel, glass,
I know. Yeah.
so. I was noticing, I had asked you earlier about some of the programs, like I noticed you got one here Cooking with Jack Chaplin.
Oh, yes.
How do you go about getting these kind of events, for lack of a better word?
Well, that one's directly because of me. I had some very good meals at
Yes,
Daddy
me
Jack's with
me and
my
my wife have
sons.
been there a few times.
Yes, excellent. I was at the library and on the floor, and who comes in but Jack? And he's a big library user.
Oh.
So I was, talking to him and saying, and he likes to read, and he was telling me his favorite cookbook and what his most classic book and different cooking classes, and it just came about from a talk like that. I said, gee, would you like to come and do a program? I said, we can't pay you anything, but it would be just great to share his enthusiasm about cooking. So it's a Monday, February 8th. That's the day the
Yeah.
restaurant's closed. And he's
Why
going
is
to
it
bring.
closed on the February 8th?
Well, it's a Monday, and his restaurant's closed on Monday.
Oh, the restaurant's closed,
So
okay.
I'm sorry. So he can come and share his time with us.
Yeah, it's 5:30 to 7 p.m. in the community. Where's the community room? Which one
The
is
room
that?
downstairs that you
Downstairs?
go for
Yeah.
a meeting.
Okay.
And he has to bring everything because we really don't have some kind of kitchen. So he's such a generous spirit man. I hope we get a good turnout. So-
Cooking's a big thing. I'm surprised at work. A lot of guys at work, all they talk about is watching the cooking shows. And I'm like, what are you guys, crazy? What are you watching? Oh, you should see this guy. He whipped up. Okay. But
Come and see it live.
Yeah, I think you should probably do it. Matter of fact, I'm going to put this up at work.
Great.
Because there are a lot of guys so that's what he looks like, huh? Yeah, he looks like a chef, all right. So you have that. We were talking about the smartphones you have. It's just,
Well, our all-time favorite program, year after year after year, is this one. Do we have a
History?
color? Yes.
I have the color.
We have a color one. Oh, why didn't you say, we love Sally Ryan. She loves us.
Sally Ryan has been doing this program for years and years and years, and we do that twice a year, once in the fall and once in the spring season. So she comes here, and we get a crowd every year, and different
bet.
people, same people, and the room is full. Last year we had a nice talk about it, and it was in the paper also. So we got a big crowd, and this year she's coming. She's starting March 23rd with the Connecticut Colony and Piquet-War.
so now do you go other places? Is this all done at the library, or is
It
it
is all
like
done at the
field trips?
library.
Or?
No, it is all done at the library. And she does one session in the evening. This is supposed to happen at 7 o'clock, 7 to 8:30. So this is after work.
And she's talking about the history of New
Right.
London?
Every class is different. Say March 23rd, she starts with Connecticut Colony. On March 30th, she talks about New London early years from 1646.
Now you said Connecticut Colony?
Connecticut Colony.
So this is about when Connecticut, Connecticut Colony. Oh, okay, I was thinking New London Colony.
She is just a wealth of information. Actually, she was videotaped once. a
We
couple
have
years
the
ago, her
DVDs
program. Yes.
for checkout.
And people come, not just from New London, but from the whole
Different
greater
cities.
area.
And
Yeah.
last year, I had a gentleman who said in the final class, he came with his wife, and his wife said, I wanted to see who Sally is, because all the time he talks about Sally said this and Sally said that, so I wanted to see who Sally is.
Some people take it more than once.
Yeah.
Yeah, they like
Well, I'm
it so
probably
much.
sure you can't get it all in one sitting.
Exactly. And people share their memories about things, which is really is nice for people. Yeah.
That's one of the things I like about some of the old seniors when I sit down and they talk about stuff when they were young, and it's like it's fascinating. I can't get
Right.
enough of it.
And there was one gentleman who said there used to be a road over there, and it's not there anymore. So I was surprised. How could a road go missing? So he was telling me, and then I spoke to Sally, and she was telling me how it went missing.
Well, I tell you, when I was a kid, I was born here, and I lived here till I was 9, and we moved out of town. And I used to live on a place called Main Street, but it was right down by the coast, down by the mill, down by the old mill, and that section. And that road's like gone now, and that was a community down there. You had Salt and Salt, I believe it was. No, Winthrop School. The old Winthrop School was right under the bridge. Not under the bridge. It wasn't a bridge at that time. One of them. They had the little restaurants, the mom and pop restaurants, and the breakfast shops, and there was businesses on the street, and there was Coles and back. We used to go crabbing, and it's just gone. And I always tried to find. I came into the library one time trying to get a map that would show that Main Street was there, but I couldn't find any that would do it. Sometimes I get lost in the library. It's just is so much, you don't know where to
Yeah.
go. That's why I guess I would, the woman that's in the center that helps you with everything, do you do that? Oh, okay.
I do.
So, I mean, that's a big help. Now, another aspect of the library is people that are looking for work or doing resumes.
Oh,
That's a big thing, huh?
that's a big thing.
A huge service that we do, yes.
Now we have regular computers that go for 30 minutes, but we thought that that is not sufficient for people who are applying for jobs. So now we separately have 2 computers that are just dedicated for job search. So whenever, say, somebody comes in for resume making, we not only help people go online to apply, there are some people who do not have email addresses.
Yeah.
There's some people who do not have resumes. There's some people who are not even computer literate, but now the jobs require you to submit their application online. That's the big problem. So when you come and sit with them and you walk through, it's a good feeling that you're helping somebody develop a skill. You're helping somebody apply for a job, and you're helping somebody make a resume and make an email address, save it to, and there is a class that goes on behind it. But then you're helping somebody. So we have people, we give them those computers, they're good for 1 hour, but you can always extend it. So people go on that computer and you help them apply online to jobs. In fact, the other day, I'm just telling you how far we can go to help them, and we all do. I had a gentleman who was, again, not computer literate, and he had his resume on a sheet of paper, and he wanted to apply to ShopRite in New London. And he said, I don't want to do it online, do it for me, I just have this. So I called ShopRite and I said, do you accept hard copies, or would you want him to apply online? And she said to me, either help him go online. We do want an online copy, a submission of an online copy, but he could come there, and we have a computer, we have a dedicated computer, we would have somebody to help him and just let him know that sees this and this person. So I gave him this information, and he decided to go to ShopRite and do it with them, so that he knows it's all set.
That's a big thing. I mean, you have a lot of people out there nowadays to apply for a job. If you don't have some kind of computer knowledge, you're in trouble.
And there's a high percentage of people who are unemployed who don't have those skills.
Yeah.
A lot of people walk in without computer skills, and you wonder, they've been maybe outside of society for, for various reasons, been ill or different things. They called me from my office the other day because someone came in, it was probably 10 days ago now, and he got a job from the help. It was actually somehow the children's librarian helped him, because we all wear a lot of hats, and I don't know if he was in there with a child or how it happened, but he got a job. He was so happy. I feel like I wish, and I think we will, take a video of him and then just have it on our webpage or something, because he was just so happy that from the library computers and the library staff.
Now, how do you get information like this out to the public? I mean, like we're saying here now, a lot of people don't have access to a computer. I don't know if it's a lot, but there are people that don't have access or don't know how to use one. And this is a service that could help a lot of people. Because you'll have some people that have worked at the same job for 50 years, and now they're out of work, and they haven't a clue where to go.
Right.
Or what to do, or what they can even do. I found that with me when because I painted forever, and I got tired of it, and then one day I said, what else can I do? And I found something else to do. It was totally different for me, but I ended up back at painting anyway. But I mean, how do you get the message out?
Well, that's what we have to keep trying to do in different ways, and shows like this will help, and just telling people as much as we can. There is CT Works, but there's something, the library's open on the weekends, it's opened, at night, it's open times, it's a little more personable, I think, than perhaps, I don't know, but I feel like we're doing a very good service with the job.
So this thing has been sitting here the whole night, and nobody's brought it up, so talk about this nice little...
Well, the Nonprofit Research Center, I started, I think, in 2012. And it was a big success. We've sort of used this program format, but we won an award for it. Madhu was completely in charge of it last year. So why don't you talk about it and this beautiful award that we got in October in New York City?
We went to New York City, both of us went to New York City, and we got this award. We are a funding information network partner of Foundation Center, and they give us databases. And these databases teach you how to get grants, and I teach that class. So every month I teach one class, one for nonprofits. On the alternate month I do grants to individuals online. So I teach individuals also. Plus, every month we invite a seasoned speaker from outside to talk about grant and grant making. And as I just mentioned, that this morning we had this program which is called the Art and Science of Retaining Digital Donors. We had 31 people who came and attended this class. And similarly, for how to build a perfect donor, which is happening next month, I already have so many people registered. And this helps nonprofit world here in New London as well as
Yeah, we do have a lot of nonprofits.
right,
in
we
this
do.
Well, there's
But-
more than 900 in southeastern Connecticut, because when I wrote the grant to start this, I did some research. More than 900 nonprofits in,
Wow.
I think there's
in our
like over
area.
260.
in,
just
in our
New
city.
London.
How we could, yeah.
Well, for one of the programs that Priya did last year for nonprofits, there was a gentleman who called from New York, and he wanted to attend that.
Yeah.
So we could send him slides, and Priya could send him emails, and we said,
Mhm.
okay, we'll send you slides if that helps.
Priya is from Pro Bono Partnerships. Pro Bono.
Pro bono partnerships.
She's a lawyer, and they do free programs. But again, a lot of those programs are paid for by the Community Foundation. They give us excellent support for that because it's reaching really all of southeastern Connecticut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've also got a lot of support from SCORE Connecticut.
Oh, SCORE, absolutely.
The last year they did a nonprofit program for us, which was how to start your nonprofit. Even though it was snowing, it was January 26th, I remember really well. It was snowing like anything. We had something like 40, 50 people in there. It was crowded, and I didn't expect anyone to show up on a day like that. 2 o'clock, the library was closed. We closed early.
These were students or?
No, people who wanted to form a nonprofit, 501c, 401c, I'm sorry.
So when you're
Yes.
gonna have a class like this, how does it get
So far out. I mean, how does someone in New York see something like this?
Okay, it goes out to the community because Community Foundation supports us. When I put a program in, I ask them whether that day works for them, and once this is done, I send it to them. This also goes on our Facebook page. We also have other means of promoting it. We put it in the Post Road Review magazine, and we put flyers throughout the city. It's on our kiosk. And it goes out in our weekly e-newsletter. This is how we promote it. So the word goes out. Plus, people know that we do once a month, and they can sign up for our e-newsletter.
We have a special e-newsletter just for people that have come to programs in the past and are interested.
okay.
It's targeted at them, so I'm sure that's important too. 'Cause after that goes out, you see immediately
Right.
people. We can track online reservations. We can see how many people have registered. If a newsletter goes out, we can see how many people respond and register immediately. It's kind of
how many
Right,
people
right.
working at the library now?
20, but it's a lot of part-time. We
Yeah.
have 8 full-time and the rest are part-time.
What about volunteers?
Always looking for volunteers.
Yeah, I noticed on your Facebook page there was a job for volunteer, someone in a genealogy room. or
Right.
something.
We're really looking for
Yes,
somebody to
we
help
are.
in our local
Do
history
you
room.
get a lot of people that will come in and want to volunteer? I mean, is it?
Not only volunteer, we get a lot of demands for community service also from the high school students that have requirements and also from other people that have various legal reasons to do community service. And
Yeah.
of course, they're screened for
Oh, yeah,
things,
yeah.
but we're always glad to help the community and give them give people work to do. As far as the other volunteers, there's different assignments depending on people's skills, time availability, etc. We couldn't function without volunteers. When I checked our hours of volunteers 2 years ago, we were like 15th highest in the state. Some libraries don't even take volunteers. It's true.
Wow.
They don't take volunteers. They have someone staff. It's their, I don't know.
See, I
We couldn't
I
function
don't
without
agree
them.
with that. I mean, volunteers are such a big part of a community in a city, and not only it makes people feel like they're worth something. I feel like, I mean, you get someone that's doing nothing, and
Wants to do
you
something.
want them, they want to do something, and
Yeah.
volunteering can always lead to other things too.
Right?
So, because I went
Absolutely.
round and round with the city about volunteers, and I used to get, well, we can't have volunteers because it's a liability issue and stuff, but, they're part of the city. It makes them feel good, you can look at something, like if
If you volunteer at the library and, somebody does a room, redesigns a room or something, or even straightens out the books, anything. I mean, you can look at it, you've accomplished something. So I can't imagine a library that wouldn't want to have volunteers.
Believe me, they exist. But I think it's the threads that keep community together. They say people are not joining as many kind of groups and things like that, those service groups that we had, but it's by volunteering that it brings us together, and we celebrate our things that we share. And
Do you guys get a lot of awards?
We had 2 this past few months, so we got this one.
Hey.
The Midju did such an excellent job in the programming, and especially all the people we partnered with. They were looking at that example also. Also, the president of our library board won an award for outstanding. Yes, Deneen Roth from the Association of Connecticut Library Boards. She's a fantastic president.
All right, let's talk about. Oh, we only got 3 minutes. I knew this was going to happen.
Well, we better see.
What very important that you got that you would like to speak on it right now?
Just want to remind people we have notary services in Spanish also.
Oh, that's
And
good.
we didn't touch on children's services at all.
I was just going to ask you about the children programs in the college. In the library.
One that's coming up is Take Your Child to the Library Day. It's activities all day on February 6th.
You'll have to read it more because they're not going to see it on the screen.
It's February 6th, and we're going to have a dog that children can read to, one of those reading dogs. Children that are a little shy about reading like to read to a therapy dog.
A real dog?
A real dog for 2 hours. You have to sign up for turns, yes. And Cindy Samuel, who's giving the drawing class, will be there with her children's book and an art activity. So there's lots of things going on that day, February 6th. And I want to remind everybody about Jack's cooking class.
Oh, yes.
You do? What do you?
We also have a new 3D printer at the library.
Oh, my goodness.
That's our newest addition, and we have done small projects on it. We are also doing a Tinkercad class, which everybody can take.
A what?
A Tinkercad class, it's like a CAD, an easy 3D CAD programming tool.
Oh, and to use the machine.
To use the machine, and
I'd
if
like to
you
see
really
that.
know how to use it, you can come and use it. Just give us a call.
Now, what's the benefits of knowing how to use a 3D?
3D
Machine.
printer teaches you a different kind of skill. It builds, say it's a technical world, people are getting into technology, it teaches you that skill. Say even if you're an artist, even if you're a student, and 3D prints an object, 3D does not print on a piece of paper, it prints an object right in front of you. Say when it was Christmas, we printed a Christmas tree, say fall, we printed a pumpkin in a library. And it looks like a pumpkin, it's a pumpkin. So it teaches you a different technology altogether. CAD program is about space and ocean, how you put it.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. If people want to donate to the library, can they walk into the library and donate?
Absolutely. We have annual giving envelopes right there. They can put the check in there and get a receipt. And it's, of course, deductible for your taxes to the extent allowed by law for if you itemize your deductions, for sure. We're a 501c3. Yep.
I would like you to check your calendar and get back to me, but I have an opening on the 18th of February. I'd like you ladies to come back, or Michelle,
Yes.
or even the threes, or whatever. It doesn't matter. You're a boss lady, so you decide. Yeah, I wanted to touch on because I know there's a lot of things at the library for children, and
Yes.
I mean that's a show probably in itself.
It would be, and we're going to roll out 1,000 books before kindergarten very shortly, so Michelle could talk about that for the preschool young children from birth to 5, so that if they're really read to a lot and spoken to, they'll arrive at school ready to learn how to read. It's not the library's mission is not to teach people, but those pre-literacy skills, because by the time a child is 3, they've heard. A child that comes from a lower level income family has heard 30 million less words. They haven't been spoken
Really?
to. Yes, it's shocking. So we're hoping to do.
And we're going to the credits. Folks, thank you for tuning in tonight. Remember, your library needs your help always. Go down, do what you can do, donate what you can donate, and these ladies hopefully will be back on February 18th.